Hello everyone and welcome back to the F2 show by Inside F2, and it's that time of year again where we predict the 2026 Formula 2 grid. Now I know you guys enjoyed this one back at home. Feel free to join in as we go through. Put your thoughts in the comments as we go through. I've got Aaron and I've got Martin with me for this one. Aaron, you've done this before. A couple of years ago, I've got the stats here. You got a whopping score of 3 out of 22 predictions. Last year you got 6. That's double. You're making steady progress there, mate. How do you reckon you're going to do this year? Confident you can beat last year's score?
Not at all. It seems to get harder every time because you're trying to work out who's going to fit where, and it's almost impossible. Some of it has some rationale. Some of it is completely putting your finger in the wind and seeing which way the wind blows.
Lovely, good stuff. High analysis on Inside F2, as always. Martin, I feel like the bar is reasonably low, as I said, so a couple of years ago. So I got 5. Lawrence, who was with us at the time, got 4. Aaron got 3 a couple of years ago. Last year it was 7 for myself, 6 for Chris McCarthy, and Aaron got 4, as I mentioned. The bar's reasonably low, mate. So I know it's your first time with us predicting the grid. What's your logic to this? Is there any logic, or are you just going to shuffle some names and hope for the best?
So there is some logic in that there's a few paths on the grid that you can see from different F3 teams that you can see, oh yeah, and that experienced driver will stay. I think there's a few maybe more obvious ones, but there's a few that I've thought maybe that fits and it's vibes. So you never know. That's my thinking.
Good stuff. Yeah, I've gone purely vibes, to be totally honest. There was a few drivers where I was like, I genuinely have no idea where they're going to end up, and chucked them in and hope for the best. We do have a bit of a habit on this show. I'm going to say this from the get-go of putting a podcast like this together, and there'll be an announcement before the podcast is released. Hopefully that won't be the case this year. We have already got one driver already announced for 2026. That's Mo Fittipaldi at AIX. So excited to see him next season, and well done, chaps. That's your first point, Mo Fittipaldi at AIX. So you've already got 1 point. Let's build on that. How we're going to do this, we're going to go through each team in championship order from last year. So we'll start with Invicta, then go to Campos, and we'll work our way through to VAR. And let's start with Invicta. Martin, I'll come to you first for this one. Who have you gone for at Invicta Racing?
So I've gone for 2 drivers that I think are actually slightly more obvious than other teams. I've gone for Roman Stanek on one side of the garage and Rafael Kamara on the other. I think Roman has started to show in the last few rounds at the time of recording the potential that we've known he's had for quite a while. After he got his 5th place finish in F3, he's just been able to extract it a little bit more in these last few races with that Invicta team. And I also think the other side of it for him is that an F1 seat isn't so likely for him now. Why not go and push all in for an F2 title with the momentum from this year? And then Rafael Kamara, the new Formula 3 champion, I think he could be on the other side, taking that Trident to Invicta F3 to F2 route as the champion. I think that's tried and tested. And at this point, I'd be surprised if that didn't happen, given the success that Invicta have had so far.
Do you know what's funny, Martin, is I've gone for exactly the same lineup as you at Invicta. I've gone for Rafa Kamara, and I've also gone for Roman Stanek. And Invicta, they have a bit of a habit, don't they, of recruiting the reigning Formula 3 champion, and I don't see that changing this year. I think Kamara will go there. I mean, ultimately, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? So, so Kamara in Invicta, and I'm the same as you. I think Roman Stanek, he's improving. The team like him. James Robinson, the team principal there, has spoken about how well Roman Stanek has been doing of late, and I think he may well stay for 2026, and I think that would be a very strong lineup, Kamara and Stanek. Aaron, who you gone for, mate?
So I've got Roman Stanek in one of the Invictas for the reasons that you've both already covered. And I've gone a little bit left field. I've gone with Charlie Wirtz, who has had a reasonably okay F3 season, and I think is looking like a driver who could make that step up and do well at F2 level, because we have seen it before. You take Alex Dunn, for example, this year, didn't have the best F3 run, put him in the F2 car, winning races left, right and centre. So perhaps Charlie Wirtz is one of those drivers, and Invicta seemed like a team that would work well with him, and we've seen Roman Stanek develop quite nicely this season. So I think there's a possibility that there's a slightly left field option other than the reigning F3 champion.
Interesting. That is very rogue. I like it. Getting the bombshells in from the get-go here in our 2026 predictions. Let's move it on then from Invicta to Campos. Azza, who are you going for at Campos?
So I've got Pepe Marti staying for another season at Campos because they like their Red Bull Juniors. And because they like Red Bull Juniors so much, Nikola Solov is in alongside him. Solov had a decent F3 campaign. Could have challenged Kamara a little bit further, but there was a disqualification, I believe. I think it was Austria, where he lost 25 points, and that completely killed his momentum. So, I can see Campos fielding 2 Red Bull Juniors for the 3rd year in a row. We're starting to see these sort of partnerships between certain teams in F1 and certain teams in Formula 2 that they like to put their drivers in certain places. So, that's my logic with Campos.
Interesting. Martin, who are you going for?
So I agree with Aaron on one of those picks. I have also gone with Nikola Solov, but I've gone with someone who's alongside him in the F3 standings at the moment, in Tim Tramnitz. I think both of these drivers are experienced in Formula 3 now. They've both been able to show their speed a little bit more consistently this year. And going on to Aaron's point, I think that Campos are becoming almost like the Red Bull Junior team to, what is it now, Racing Bulls, I think of the name then. And they're, with Lindblad potentially being shifted up, I think he'll move on, and I don't know if Red Bull will retain Pepe Marti, although I do think he'll stay on the grid as a little spoiler for later on. So I think Nikola Solov and Tim Tramnitz would be the best 2 picks for Red Bull and for Campos to fill those 2 empty seats, especially with that existing relationship that they've got.
Nice. I like that lineup. I've also gone for Tim Tramnitz to be at Campos for next season, but I've partnered him with a returning Arvid Lindblad. And I know that might be a bit of a surprise to a lot of people, but Arvid's F2 season this season hasn't necessarily gone to plan. He's down in 7th in the championship. We've seen Christian Horner leave Red Bull and Laurent McKee step up to Red Bull to be their team principal. And I just think with Laurent McKee, I think he might potentially opt for a little bit of consistency with the driver lineup at the moment. I think he might stick with Yuki Tsunoda. We've seen him be loyal to drivers in the past, Laurent McKee, so I think he might stick with Yuki Tsunoda. I think he'll give Liam Lawson another chance at RB rather than axing him. I think they're going to move away from that cutthroat mentality that they had under Horner, and therefore Lindblad can either sit on the sideline for a year or he can return to Formula 2 to win the championship. So I've gone for Lindblad to come back and to contend for the championship next year, and I've gone for Tim Tramnitz for an all Red Bull lineup next season. Moving on then, let's go to MP next. Martin, who have you gone for at MP?
So I've been deliberating this one over the last couple of days. I've not been quite sure. The first driver that I am relatively sure of is Oliver Goethe. I think that he maybe has a little bit more to prove, but I think he's clearly a quick driver. It's not quite clicked with him this year, but he's been known to MP for a long, long time, and I would be surprised if he wasn't backed by Red Bull next year, which I think he should be given another chance. I would be surprised if he wasn't on the grid again with MP. The second driver I've gone for is Dino Beganovic at MP. Now, this is maybe a little bit left field given that he's currently with High Tech, but I think that MP have shown with Richard Verschoor this year, with Felipe Drugovich a few years ago, that if you can provide the right combination in that car of an experienced driver and that team, there can be a real title challenge. I spoke to Dino a couple of weeks ago for the Feeder Series podcast, and it's clear that he's got pace in that car, but I just don't think he's quite been able to extract it consistently enough with High Tech. I think that could happen with MP, so I've gone with Goethe and Beganovic at MP Motorsport.
It's an interesting lineup. Beganovic at MP would be really interesting, wouldn't it? So, Aaron, have you gone for Richard Verschoor returning for a 6th season in Formula 2, or you've gone elsewhere?
Richard Verschoor stays with MP Motorsport.
No way.
Yeah. I couldn't work out whether I thought he would come back or not, and in the end I was like, do you know what? F2 just needs Richard Verschoor. We'd be lost without him. And who better to mentor the reigning Formula 3 champion as well in Rafael Kamara. So I've got Kamara and Vashour at MP Motorsport, which I think, if things clicked there, would be a frighteningly fast lineup if things were all going in the right direction. You might have like McLaren 2025 vibes where they're just running around at the front together. And it might be a bit dominant.
If my F2 history or F2 knowledge is correct, I believe he would be following in the footsteps of his older brother, Sergio Sette Camara, stepping up to the series in an MP, if that does come true. So, really interesting. And that would be a mega lineup, wouldn't it, for sure?
Well, if you're a viewer and you're seeing that, you'll know if that's true, if it's not been cut out.
Yeah, exactly that. That is very true. That is very true. Yeah. I'm relying on some knowledge back in the day then. I've gone for MP Motorsport. I've gone for Josh Dirksen, which I know is a little bit rogue. And I've also gone for Mari Boyer. So very different lineup to what you guys have gone for. Mari Boyer has had a superb end to the Formula 3 season. We haven't obviously quite finished the season yet, but catapulted himself up to second in the championship with a few good results. And since being Aston Martin Junior, he has been flying. So I think he'll make the step up to Formula 2. And I think that'll be with MP Motorsport. And I've also gone for Josh Dirksen to step away from AIX and to go for a team a little bit further up the grid. I think it'll be his last shot at Formula 2 next season. I think that it hasn't quite worked out at AIX this year, and I think he'll be looking for a seat elsewhere. He brings lots of backing, obviously the Paraguayan connections that he has. So I've gone for Josh Dirksen and Mari Boyer at MP Motorsport, and it is very much lick your finger and put it in the air at this point to see who's ended up where, right? So let's move on then to High-Tech TGR. Aaron, who have you gone for at High-Tech?
So they are keeping one of their drivers. Okay. Excuse me, frog in my throat. And they are bringing in a new driver. So the driver who's staying is Luke Browning. He has been excellent in the High-Tech team this year. I feel like there is something that's just working there. And even though they haven't quite got the win over the line yet this year, it almost certainly would come if they stay together next year. And he's going to be joined by someone who's impressed us this season and outperformed a highly tipped teammate, and that is Sebastian Montoya, who's going to go in there and give Luke Browning a real run for his money in what is also a very quick potential lineup if it was to come off. But like you say, it's just throwing some names in the air, seeing where they land at the moment, and gambling on how many you get right.
High-Tech and Montoya have history, don't they? So that could well happen. I've actually also gone for Luke Browning returning his final shot at the F2 Championship, and I think he will throw everything at it next year with Toyota. And I have got a returning driver with High-Tech. I've gone for Otomo Miata, and that is purely based on the Toyota Gazoo Racing link there. He's obviously a Toyota Junior driver, and obviously High-Tech TGR is in the name. So I've just put two and two together and gone Luke Browning and Otomo Miata. I think Miata, third year in Formula 2. He needs to deliver next year compared to how he's delivered in his first two seasons in Formula 2. And maybe High-Tech will be the team that he can do that at. So I've gone for Browning and Miata. Martino, who have you gone for, mate?
It's a new one. I've gone with exactly the same as you, Fraser, so not too much to add. Very similar reasoning. Miata, I think, unfortunately, that may be minus 1 point for Aaron, because I think that's just such a slam dunk that he's surely going to be in that seat, given that he's sponsored by TGR and they are known to have a partnership with High-Tech. And then I've gone for Browning because under the assumption he doesn't go to Formula 1 next year, I think he will do the second season in Formula 2. He's got to be one of the title favourites. He's been so quick this year and just unable to quite get the win or get the consistent qualifying that's been able to get him the win in the more recent rounds. So I think it'll be Miata and Browning at High-Tech next year.
Totally agree, Martin. Is that the second one we've agreed on there? We're great minds, right?
I'm slightly concerned, but I need to get some kind of differential to get more points to you. But
you're either both completely wrong or I'm completely against the grain, and I'm out. I'm just so far out of bounds, it's unreal.
Exactly that.
I've got my suspicions.
I can promise listeners that we have not compared answers before we've launched into this podcast. Let's move on to Prema, and that's such an interesting seat. Actually, I listened back to the podcast that we recorded this time last year, predicting the 2025 grid, and Chris McCarthy said in this exact podcast last year, he said, "This is the most lucrative seat in junior motorsport. What a difference a year makes." At that point they'd had 1 year of things not going so well. This year has not gone well either, and it's 2 years in a row now. And I just worry that Prema are not going to attract the same kind of caliber of driver that they potentially once have. So I've gone for Dino Beganovic to return to Prema, and I've gone for Sebastian Montoya to stay. So I think that would be a strong lineup, as strong as they could get. I don't think they're going to get any of the top tier drivers, if you like, the title contenders in Formula 2 or Formula 3. But I do think Dino Beganovic, really, really good driver, obviously competed for the Formula 3 championship last year in Formula 3. And I think, difficult year at high tech. I think he would have liked to have been in the top 10 in the championship. Of course, that's still possible with 4 rounds to go. But it hasn't quite materialised like it has for his teammate, Luke Brown, at high tech. So I've got him moving to Prema, back into familiar surroundings. And I've got Sebastian Montoya staying at the Italian team. Aaron, who you gone for at Prema?
So Prema have a history of moving drivers through their sort of junior category teams. So from Italian F4 and Formula 3 and Formula 2. Now they even have an IndyCar team. So there is a real conveyor belt into top-level motorsport there for Prema. So I've got Gabriele Mini staying with them. He's not had the greatest of seasons, but I think we can put some of that down to him perhaps not adjusting to the F2 car quite as well as perhaps Montoya has, and Prema still seemingly struggling to get on top of this new machine. They had so much success with the previous machine. And we're going to see Ugo Ugachukwu graduate from F3 to F2 with Prema. Of course, a McLaren-backed driver. So I think, Ugo has come on strong in the last few races. I think the F3 field has been slightly lopsided in that Camera has been so dominant. It's been sometimes difficult to see where the other drivers have been excelling. So, Ugo's had a good string of races, so I think he may be in contention for a promotion.
Been in good form recently in Formula 3, and I would absolutely love to see Gabriele Mini and Ugo Ugachukwu stood next to each other just as teammates, because I think the height difference would be something, quite comical, really, couldn't it? Martin, who have you gone for at Prema?
I've gone for one of their drivers this year to be returning, and I've gone for Sebastian Montoya. I think they've really blended quite well. I think there are a few doubts when it was announced that Sebastian was going to be in the car, but I think he's proven them wrong. He's been consistently in qualifying and races faster than Gabriele, and I think he has proven to those that doubted that he has the speed to be in this Formula 2 championship with a team such as Prema, which we know they've not been as good this year or last year, but I really think it can't be too long before they're front running again. I do agree, though, Fraser, that they're not going to be able to attract perhaps the kind of talent that they have before, and that's why I think that the other driver might be Noel Leon. I think Leon's clearly a very good driver. He's had a couple of years in Formula 3, a race winner, of course. He's only 18th in the standings this year, which I don't think... I was quite surprised when I saw that, because I don't think that quite has shown the pace that Noel Leon has. And I think that he will move up with Prema. They've shown that they've made a surprising decision last year, bringing up Sebas, and I think they could do it again with Noel Leon for next year as well.
Really interesting. You're absolutely right that 18th in the stands is not representative of Noel Leon's talent. So, wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. I think that'd be really interesting if that were to happen. Moving on then to Dams. Martin, let's come back to you for Dams. Who have you gone with for their lineup?
So this is perhaps one of my more left field lineups, but there is actually reasoning behind it. In the last couple of years, Dams have had Jack Crawford and James Correa, and they've had Jack Crawford and Kush Miney. They have chosen experience over rookies every single time. And it's for that reason I'm going to go for two drivers that are going to be third-year drivers next year in Pepe Marti and Josh Dirksen. I don't know if Pepe is going to stay in the Red Bull Junior team, because there is Arvid, who may be going up. There's Solov and Tramnitz, who are both around there as well. But I think Pepe is definitely talented enough to be on the Formula 2 grid and give the title another crack next year if he doesn't win it this year. I think alongside him could be Josh Dirksen, because like I said earlier, I think it's maybe time for him to step out of AIX and maybe go for a team that can win those races a bit more often. And I think he's shown that he's got the talent to do that. I think Dam's wanting experienced drivers marries up pretty perfectly with the fact that these two might be available, with the fact that Jack Crawford's going to be leaving, with the fact that I don't expect, or I don't know if Chris Minor is going to be retained, but I would be surprised if they didn't look for someone else. And I think those two could be a good pair.
Interesting. I think that makes logical sense, much more logical sense than my predictions, which I'll go for in a minute. Aaron, who have you gone for at Dams?
So I've got a driver returning to Dams. So this driver made their debut with the Dams team, and that is Dino Beganovic. And he was looking all right, actually, in the Dams car. Got some good results in the couple of rounds that he had in 2024. Gone to High Tech this year, and it's not quite worked out for him. So maybe going back there, I wouldn't discount, like you said, with him going back to Prema, a known environment there. But also that experience with Dams was quite positive. So I can see him returning there and spearheading that team. And alongside him, this was because I kind of ran out of spaces because I forgot to put Dams in on my list, and they're at the bottom. So Tim Tramnitz is there, which there's no rhyme or reason to it. That is I've put a name down. Tim, go and sign for Dams just to give me a point, please.
I love it. We're now appealing to drivers on the F2 show to go and sign for teams just based on our predictions podcast and pure vibes, which is great. So I've gone for my logic on this. I mean, when Martin's just explained his logic, Aaron, I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? There's actually something to that, and they may well end up going for something similar to what Martin has said. I've actually gone for Gabriele Mini at Dams because I think he might try something new next year away from Prema. He's been there for a couple of years now. Dams are obviously a championship contending team with Jack Crawford this year, so could they be a team that he tries to go for the title for at next season? An Alpine Junior, replacing Kushmani, another Alpine Junior. And I've also gone for Noah Stromstead. And again, I know that's a bit of a left field shout, but Mercedes Junior, I think he's done well this year. Obviously not quite as well as Kamara's done, but I think he's done well, and I think Mercedes will be looking to promote him and to get him in a strong seat. Dams may well be the place that he ends up. Again, similar to you, Aaron, to be honest, not very much logic involved in this one. I've just gone for two drivers that, it's based on vibes, basically. So, yeah. So, Gabriele Mini and Noah Stromstead for me. Let's move on to ART. So, ART, I'm happy to kick this one off, lads. I've gone for Nikola Solov and Tuukka Tappinen for this one. So, Nikola Solov, a driver who's obviously done very well in the F3 Championship this year. Formula 3's record win holder in the championship now, which is interesting. Obviously, Red Bull backed, and he previously drove at ART in Formula 3, so I've gone for him returning to ART in Formula 2. And Tuukka Tappinen, a Ferrari batch driver, I don't necessarily think, 8th in the standings, I think he is. I haven't got the standings open in front of me, but I think he's 8th in the standings. And, ART, he's ART's top scoring driver this year. I don't necessarily think the ART is the best car in Formula 3 this year. I wouldn't necessarily say he's a standout driver in Formula 3, but I think perhaps if that ART car in Formula 3 isn't perhaps as good or well set up as some of the other cars, then actually maybe his 8th place in the championship is actually quite good. And I think ART could potentially promote him. Obviously, as I said, Ferrari-backed driver. Maybe Ferrari will be looking to promote him. So that's why I've gone for Nikola Solov and Tuukka Tappinen. So, Martin, who you gone for at ART?
So I've gone for a little bit of a similar route as Aaron at MP, and for me with Roman Stanek, I've gone with Victor Martins.
Okay.
I think that, let's be honest, he's not going to win the championship this year, but he's got so much pace. He's just signed with the Williams Academy. I say just signed 6 months ago, but this would be his second season. I see no reason why, if Victor Martins has gone for a third season, why he couldn't or shouldn't go for a fourth season in Formula 2 and try and finally pick up that elusive driver's title. Alongside him, I've gone with a former Alpine stablemate of his. I've gone with Gabriele Mini because I think he'll definitely stay on the grid. I agree with you that I don't think he will remain at Prema, and I think that ART could be quite a nice fit for him. It's still a team with lots of pedigree, with previous high performance, and actually I think we've seen this year that ART, especially in qualifying, has at times been quicker than Prema, and I think it could be a really good fit for Gabriele Mini to again try and go for that championship. And I think that lineup of Martins and Mini could be an incredibly fast one.
See, that would be a really strong lineup, and I like the sound of Victor Martins and Gabriele Mini together. I didn't go for as strong a lineup at ART because I just, similar to Prema, I don't know whether they're going to attract some of the big names like they used to be able to in the series. But yeah, let's wait and see. Aaron, who have you gone for at ART?
I've gone with Victor Martins because that's just the done thing. That's where he lives now. He exists with ART and only with ART, apparently. And partnering Victor Martins as he goes finally for that F2 title, if we can finally see him put that full season of challenge together. I've got Oliver Goethe, who I think has impressed at times with MP, but I think this season might just be the one where he goes, actually, I need to move away, have a different environment. And maybe ART are a team that are sort of getting a handle on this car more than, say, Prema, because the one-lap pace is absolutely there. The race pace has been a bit iffy, but we're seeing in the last couple of rounds that ART is starting to sort of balance that out, that trade-off between one-lap speed and making the car run well over consistent laps. So, yeah, I think that could be an environment where Martins and Goethe really flourish and pull off, well, it wouldn't be shock results with Victor because he's a race winner already, but with Oliver, maybe we see something that we haven't seen before from him.
Interesting, you've both gone for Victor Martins returning. He just needs to sort his race pace out, doesn't he? He's had the qualifying pace all year long, but just and his entire time in Formula 2, to be fair, he just needs to sort that race pace out. Okay, Rodin next, probably the last of the big teams, the championship contending teams, if you like. Yeah, Aaron, who you gone for at Rodin?
So I've gone with Alex Dunn to come
returning.
Back. Yeah, okay. I just think he might be too far away to win the title this season. And I don't think McLaren will want him sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. So I think he'll come back for another proper tilt at the F2 title. And if anything, just to keep him race sharp, just in case anything happens to Lando or Oscar in the F1 team. And he's alongside Mari Boyer because I think he's really progressed in the last few rounds in Formula 3, got that Aston Martin backing now. And we've seen what they're doing with Jack Crawford, and he's doing a really good job this season in Formula 2 and potentially could even find his way onto the Formula 1 grid next year. So, yeah, Mari Boyer, exciting young driver, could be a really promising lineup there at Rodin. Very, very fast and potentially lots of race wins.
That'd be a strong lineup. I like the sound of that. Martin?
Yeah, me and Aaron have been a bit telepathic there because I've also gone for Mari Boyer. I think that he's shown a lot of pace this season. He's got wins in Formula 3, including that very impressive wet win at Silverstone. Mm-hmm. And crucially, the Aston Martin base is in England. He will be, if he's at Rodin, in England. I just think that link makes a lot of sense to further his improvement. And I think Rodin, they can attract a driver such as Boyer, who's been near the top of the Formula 3 standings with the fact that their car over the last few years has proven to be championship contending with Zane Maloney until the end of the season and with Alex Dunn. I'd like to give an honourable mention to Martinius Stenchon because I think he's going to be on the grid, but I haven't been able to squeeze him in. Sorry, Martinius, if you're watching. But I've gone for more out of hope than expectation, Christian Mansell on the other side of the garage. We don't know what's happened that stopped him from racing this season, but I really hope he'll be able to make a return next year in that Rodin seat that he was meant to have.
I actually toyed with the idea of having Christian Mansell at Rodin, so yeah, interesting that you have him down as potentially returning. And yeah, you're absolutely right that hope all is well with Christian Mansell. So I have gone for a non-Red Bull backed Pepe Marti. I agree with what you guys have both said earlier on in the podcast. I don't think he'll be retained by Red Bull for next season. I think he'll be a free agent to go and find a seat wherever he wants to. And I think he'll end up at Rodin in a potentially title-winning car next year to really push on and to have a really good third season in Formula 2. And I've paired him with Callum Voisin. I think I think I might even have said in my predictions last year about Callum Voisin stepping up to Formula 2 this season. Obviously, that didn't happen. He's returned with Rodin for 2025 in Formula 3. But yeah, I think he's had a quietly good season in Formula 3. He obviously had a really strong rookie season last season. I think he'd have impressed Rodin enough for them to allow him to make the step up to Formula 2. We saw with Alex Dunn how a driver who was with Rodin last season stepped up and has performed brilliantly this year with Rodin. So potentially, maybe they'll do the same thing with Callum Voisin. So yeah, I've gone for Pepe Marti and Callum Voisin at Rodin. We've got 3 teams left, chaps. We'll go quick fire for these last 3. So AIX have already confirmed Mo Fittipaldi. Obviously, as we said at the beginning of the podcast, you got a point each on that one. Well done, chaps. Who have you got paired with Mo for 2026, Aaron?
So I have to make an admission to start with that I completely forgot that Mo Fittipaldi had been signed, and I originally had Rafael Villagomez in there. And sadly, I've not been able to find a home for Rafael Villagomez since you've reminded me. So, it's Fittipaldi and Dirksen at AIX for me.
Dirksen retained. Okay, you like that. Martin, who you gone for as Mo Fittipaldi's teammate next year?
I've gone for Tassanapol Intraprivazak. He's a multiple race winner in Formula 3 with Campos this season, but of course was with AIX and Formula 3 previously last season. He's not been near the top of the standings, but I think that it will be someone that AIX knows, and I think that that will be a good teammate for Mo Fittipaldi to have and a good talisman for the team with Josh Dirksen leaving.
Makes a lot of sense. You actually sold me on that one, to be honest. I might change my answer. I've actually gone for Roman Belinsky to partner Mo Fittipaldi next year. Again, had a bit of an up and down season at Rodin, I guess. A driver that I think is far more talented than he's perhaps shown this year at Rodin, and I think he's got a good manager, and I think maybe he'll sort him out a seat on the Formula 2 grid at AIX next season. If I'm totally honest. Vibes again. No, not really any logic behind it. Trident. I kick off Trident. So I've gone for Sami Megatuniv to retain his seat with the team. I think he'll come back for a second season with Trident. And I've also gone for Ollie Gerfer to join him. I didn't think that Ollie Gerfer was going to stick around at MP. I think it's been a little bit of an up and down season for Ollie Gerfer. And I think, again, he has more pace than he's perhaps shown at MP. This season, I didn't really know where Ollie Gerfer was going to end up, and I've gone for him returning to Trident. Obviously, they have history together. He drove for Trident in Formula 3. So that's who I've gone for. Sami Megatuniv and Ollie Gerfer, which I think is a really strong lineup for Trident if they go with that for next year. Martin, who you gone for at Trident?
So I've gone with Sami as well. I think that he'll stay on, and he's definitely been the stronger of the two Trident drivers this year, and I think he'll do another season. Alongside him, I've gone with Noah Stromsted, who was, of course, mentioned earlier. I think that he's got the Spa Sprint win. He's got 3 podiums this season in his debut season in F3, 6th in the championship. He's really, he's not been the Kamara level of his teammate, but he's not been a million miles away. And I think that Mercedes will want him in Formula 2, and I think he'll remain with Trident.
Absolutely. I do think we'll see him on the grid next year. Aaron, who you gone for?
I have also gone for Sami Megatuniv, and I have also gone for Noah Stromsted. Nice and easy. So repeat what Martin said.
Yeah, you two have been copying each other's homework there, haven't you? So
sharing some notes.
Exactly that. And the last seats up for grab are at the VAR team. Aaron, kick us off. Who have you gone for at VAR?
So I've got Max Esterson moving to VAR, and he's alongside the retained John Bennett.
Oh, nice. I'd love to see John sticking around on the grid next year. Martin, who have you gone for at VAR?
I've gone for Rafa Villagomez, and I've gone with Santiago Ramos coming up from their F3 team. He's won races this year, not done too much outside of winning races, which is kind of fun. But I think he'll step up. Sorry, John.
Yeah, I've also gone for Villa Gomez returning for a third season. Did 3 years in F3, didn't he? So it makes sense for him to do F3 years in F2, obviously, with VAR. That's the only logic behind that. And I've gone... You mentioned Martinez Stenshorn earlier, Martin, and I also couldn't find a seat for him in Formula 2, but I thought that he deserves a seat in Formula 2, and a McLaren back driver, I think McLaren will be keen for him to find a seat. So I have gone for him at VAR. I did also toy with Santiago Ramos stepping up from within that team, but I have gone for Stenshorn and I've gone for Villa Gomez. I think McLaren will find Stenshorn at home at VAR. And that concludes our predictions for the 2026 grid, chaps.
Sorry, just to interrupt you there, Fraser. Interestingly, no one has got Leonardo Fornaroli on their grid. So what does that tell you that we think is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can't return if you win the Formula 2 championship.
Or will he be on the F1 grid?
Yeah, exactly that. You would be on the F1 grid. I do think he will end up somewhere, I think, whether that's in a reserve role or a main seat. It sounds like Cadillac potentially an option. Alpine, you mentioned on a podcast last week, Aaron. So, I guess there's a watch this space in that sense. But listen, any driver who wins the Formula 3 Championship and then the Formula 2 Championship back-to-back, if that's what Leonardo Fornaroli goes on to do, absolutely.
We saw it last year. Gabriel wasn't in conversations. He forced his way in by winning the championship, by going on that late season run. Yeah. So I absolutely agree.
Totally agree. So that's what Aaron and Martin think. What do you think? Who will be driving where in 2026? Let us know in the comments. Shall we revisit this in April, chaps, to see how wrong we've got it?
Absolutely. Just, bring the embarrassment. It's all right.
It's all fun and games, and that we're happy to embarrass ourselves for the enjoyment of the listeners. Absolutely. There was a few that I was confident on. There was a few that I'm absolutely not confident on at all, but it's all part of the fun, isn't it? Listen, my thanks to Aaron and Martin for joining us on this one. Plenty more content coming your way over the next few weeks. You know what to do. Stay subscribed. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Follow us on social media as well. We'll have lots of stuff coming your way over the next few weeks. But from me, Fraser Ford, and all of us here at Inside F2, we'll see you next time.